Hey guys, Jay here, welcome to EonsOfBattle.com. Today I'd like to show you how I created this ruined wall section of terrain. First thing I did was I took a piece of 1/8 inch hardboard, and using a scroll saw on an angle, I carved out this little piece that is going to be my base. It's about 1.5 inches by 6 inches. Next I sanded the base using 100 grit sandpaper, making sure all of the edges were soft. Then I took a piece of foam core that I'm going to be using for the wall section. I straightened one side of it, and then I drew out my pattern for what the destroyed wall is going to look like. I then used my scroll saw to cut it out, but you could also use a hobby knife or any type of cutting tool. I then traced it onto the cork. This is going to act as the texture for the wall. Make sure that you flip it so that you get both sides, and then I used my hobby knife to cut this out. Now it's not going to be easy to cut the cork, so I just scored it and tore it, which will make it a lot easier on you. Then I applied a little bit of hot melt glue and glued it down to the foam core, making sure that the bottom was flush and that a little bit of cork was showing on the top. Next, I used my fingernails and I began tearing up the edges of the cork just to make it look a little bit more destroyed and disheveled. And then to further the process along, I used the edge of my hobby knife to help also scrape it and make it a little bit more destroyed. Then I wanted to make some fake wall supports for the wall, so I used an X-Acto knife and I began cutting out some strips of cork. And then I began gluing these down to the wall section. Now I glued these down every little bit from each other, and then I waited for them to be dry, and then I tore off the excess of the strip at the top to make it look like these were a piece of the wall, and then they were also destroyed when the wall was destroyed. So now I have my wall pretty much finished, so I'm going to glue it down right to the middle of my base. And then I globbed on a little bit of hot melt glue once for flocking. This is going to make it look as if a big pile of sand and grit and gravel and rubble has just piled up along the wall. And then I took some toothpicks to act as the supports that were holding this building up. And then I used some wire cutters to trim them. You could also use wire or anything for this, but I like toothpicks because they're very inexpensive. If you have any trouble with them falling out, you can always add a little bit of wood glue. Next, I began to prepare it for flocking, so I took some wood glue and smeared it all over the base. I like the look of a nice clean edge, so I made sure that there was no glue on the edge. And then I flocked it using a mixture of fine and heavy grain sand. Once that was dry, I primed it black, and then began with the first heavy dry brushing of a light gray. And once I was satisfied with that coat, I then began putting some brown in some areas. And then I go over it again with the light gray. And there's the finished wall. If you have any other ideas or techniques you'd like to see us do, please leave in the comments below. If you'd like to see more videos like this, you can visit our website at EonsOfBattle.com. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.